to learn about regional culture. Last time in Multicultural Diversity, we have already learned about corporate culture, no, which is in the workplace you have different cultures. No, one corporation or one business establishment has a different culture than the other. No, so more siya on kung asa ka trabaho, lailahi taog kanang naandan, lailahi sila culture nga gi-establish. So this time we are more on the regional culture na, which is experienced by many. Kay sa corporate culture mong good class, kato namang kalabanan nga mo trabaho ang maka-experience of corporate culture. No, but for regional culture, all of us actually experience that because in regional culture, it's more on sa lugar na rin siya mismo, no? So sa inyo habi diri sa San Carlos City, lahi ang culture nato dire, no? Pag abot mo sa Luzon, lahi pod ang ilang culture dito. Na how much more if you are going to travel outside of the country. So we are going to learn that today. Actually, no, dili na ta magtagsatagsa og kanang ang iyahang language, ang iyahang kanang unsa ta gani iyahang language, ang iyahang religion, ang iyahang currency. It is because you already know that sa global geography, no, last semester. But of course, when it comes to regional culture, siguro mo takal lang tagamay on there. Like traditional dances. Wala na to na-discuss last time sa global geography. No, ang ilahang mga traditions, no, such as their festivals, na may uban, katong kung gikuan sa inyo, no, nga, na uban ning report or ning present og mga different pod nga, mga cultures, no, different traditions, pero dili jud tanan. No, so, diri sa multicultural diversity, mo expand lang ta more on the different traditions, customs, so their traditional dances, etc. So the content of regional tradition does not only limit to our a regional culture does not only limit to tradition class, no. You will also be learning about different cultures, no, according to different demographics like your social classes, age. Okay. So last time humanata na tong five kabuo corporations no nga considered to have an outstanding corporate culture, no, like AirAsia, like Google, Twitter, Zappos, no, and many more. No, so to name a few lang, no, kay lima raman to kabuka kung yata nga examples, but there are so many um corporations, no, or businesses has an exemplary corporate culture. No, I did also mention in the hospitality industry, one of which is Marriott, diba? Marriott is also considered as one of the hotels that has exemplary corporate culture. So daghan, as no, even Ritz Carlton is also an example of that. So let us continue with regional culture. As what I've mentioned, regional culture is quite different from corporate culture because regional culture no differs based on where you live or where you are located. Unlike ni corporate culture nga based on where you work. So as you can see, no lain-lain ta og mga cultures class not just within um our country but even outside of our country. No, kay sa tuong country class rin lain po ta og kuan no per region, like lahi ang culture ni region 1 compared to region 2, lahi ang culture na sa Luzon compared to naa sa Visayas, no. And when you go outside of the country, lahi po ang ilang culture dito if you compare it to the Philippines. And within their country, like for example, no, like in Singapore, no, they are divided to different cultures as well. No, kay moagto gani po ka sa kuan sa US, no, they have at least 50 states and each state has also a different culture, no. Ma-distinguish ko na nimo ang New Yorker um from someone who is from Los Angeles, no. Ma-distinguish ko na nimo ang usa ka tawo, no, who is from Texas, no. if you compare it to those who are living in Washington DC, yung ana, 'di ba? So not just within a country or per country ga differ, but within the country lain-lain pud sila og culture, no, per region, per state, no. Kanang sulay po ko ana class, oftentimes no, they would like to compare not just sa tua lang, no, nga sa mga taga kuaning ana siya na ilahang naanda, no, if taga Bohol ka, basta fiesta sa inyo muuli jud ka, no, because it's part of your tradition, no, that's your upbringing. Or usually ang mga yung ani nga klase nga tao or ani nga klase nga group from this specific nga lugar, they have very strong accent. It is because mo na ilang language. At the same time, when they talk, it's always like they're angry all the time, no. So may ana, no, or dili abi sa Bacolod, no, malumanay, no, or very soft kaayo ilahang way of speaking, no. And then lahi po daw ko, no, kaya ang mga taga Cebu po daw ko, no, is kanang very kuan kay sila, no, kanang sila chill nga mga tao, no. And then at the same time dili nimo mailhan nga dato, no, kayo because ang uban kay dito, no, magkuan ra, magpambalay ra sila, maglaag-laag, no. So that could be an example of different regional cultures. So in anthropology and geography, regional culture is defined as a cultural region, cultural sphere, and cultural area. These are often associated with an ethno-linguistic group and a territory it inhabits. So cultural region is an area inhabited by people who have one or more cultural traits in common, such as language, religion, and system of livelihood. No, so it's not just limited to traditions or inyuhang pamatasan or inyuhang language or religion, even your system of livelihood, no. Like for example, you're used to this one, no. Para sa San Carlos City, no, we're used to using biodegradable nga mga packaging such as paper bags, no, because we practice sustainability. That's our system of livelihood, no? Or our system of livelihood na to is fishing or for example sugarcane, no. So atong lifestyle, atong system of livelihood is also an example of our regional culture. It is an area that is relatively homogeneous with regard to one or more cultural traits. So the geographer who identifies a formal culture region must locate cultural borders. So it is important, class, for us to identify a certain culture within that region. So a geographer must be able to also locate cultural borders nga in Negros Occidental. So kutob ra diri, no, within Bacolod to Cadiz Abi, no, they share the same culture. Oh, that's their cultural border. No, mula pa sa gani ka na nga lugar, lahi na po na nga culture. Because cultures overlap and mix, such as boundaries are really sharp, even if only a single cultural trait is mapped. So it's not like your common, ang cultural borders class is not like your common lang nga map nga you can distinguish region 1 from region 2 because madistinguish mo sa map, no, na siya diri ra kutob ang region 1, ma'am, diri ra kutob nga municipality or diri ra kutob nga province, no. But in cultural borders sometimes it tend to overlap, no. Sometimes for example to ibutang in a region na ay pulo ka buok provinces abi, unya kada sa pulo class, no, ang yung cultural boundary is kutob ra sa 5 ka provinces. O napoy uban class nga nagtupad ang duha ka region, no, region A, region B abi, unya nalapas pud ang cultural border ni region A sa region B. So for example 10 ka buok provinces, no, within that region, unya na-appeal pa dito siyang cultural border ang usa ka province from region B. So sometimes, no, their cultural border does not follow, no, what is on the map. Kay there are times that cultures can overlap and mix. No, if you could still remember your class in Philippine geography, wherein sa region 1 there are provinces that share the same language. So because like for example in region 1, no, na mga Ilocanos na tend to travel outside of Ilocos, it is because kuan man class, no, people migrate, no, they tend to live outside of their province, 'di ba? So sa cultural border class sometimes maglapaw siya, no, if you compare it to the map, nga na kani region 1 dili jud kutob ang region 1, ang region 2 mo jud ni siya kutob, lapas na ana lahi na po na siya nga region, so dali ka siya identify. But sa cultural borders it's different, no, because sometimes cultures can overlap two regions, so ana na siya. So, as you can see, no, so katong previous po na to nga klase, no, last semester, sa global geography, there are 7 continents and 5 oceans. So, 4 na ito makita din, no, because there are 2 Atlantic Oceans na naa sa North America and 1 found in South America. So, of course, we have 7 continents. So, naa tayo Australia, Asia, Europe, Africa, South America, North America, and the Antarctica. And you have 5 oceans: the Pacific Ocean, Arctic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean sa North America, and Atlantic Ocean sa South America. So the Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean in the entire world. No, as you can see, located near the Philippines, lapas pa siya dool sa North and South America. So, makita nimo class, because we are divided, no? Dili man ta usa og kuan, kanatan las Pangaea na siya nga dako kaayo nga continent. No, we are divided into 7 continents. So of course it is expected nga people inhabiting these 7 continents have different cultures, and within these continents have different countries, and these countries also have different cultures. So this will be your activity later on na lang, no, research work na lang ni siya. So you'll have to explain the difference between Joharian and Galantes culture, no, which is um, in Asia. Sige lang, ako lang ikuan sa inyo yung instructions. And then you have to also discuss the culture for people who live in Antarctica. So later na lang na siya, hatag rin ako niyo niya. Okay, next. So those are examples of regional culture class ha. Kung asa ka nagpuyo, no, mag-differ dyan na ang imuhang culture from one place to another. Let's now proceed to culture of various socio-economic. So socio-economic is more on your status, no? So naba sa lower, middle class, or upper class. So socioeconomic status, or SAS, is an economic and sociological combined total measure of a person's work experience, of an individual or family's economic and social position in relation to others. So socioeconomic status is based on your income, your education, and your occupation. Socioeconomic diversity has a mix of people, staff, students from different income levels, social backgrounds, and in some cases, racial and ethnic backgrounds. So when we talk about diversity class, it is not only limited again on the physical or even sa tuapod nga culture. Sometimes it can differ based on our socioeconomic status, even in age, di ba? So, example of that, no, is rich and poor, no? And for example, sa education, like for example, a graduate student, no? Or a graduate school student, or a college graduate. Hay ang graduate school student o college graduate ha. Ang graduate school student is kanang gaskila o kanang postgraduate studies such as masteral and PhD. Ang college graduate o so bachelor's degree. Okay? So ang pinakataas na jud is muna siya postgraduate studies. So like for example, your level of education, elementary graduate or nasa elementary level, wala pa ka graduate, high school level or high school graduate, college graduate, or undergrad sa college, or sa college level pa, may natawag nga wala pa ka graduate, and of course, graduate school level or full-fledged na jud nga master's or PhD nga anay degree ana nga course, no? So socioeconomic differences, no, can be based on your income, your level of education, no. So mo ni siyang example, rich versus poor. So let's now proceed to the culture of various socioeconomic groups. So socioeconomic group refers to a person's position in society's structural and functional systems. It involves an activity, occupation, occupational status, and industry. So socioeconomic groups can be divided into 4. We have the upper level, or those who belong to the rich families, no? na very influential and rich families, medium level, lower level, and the poor. The poor is kana yung o isang kahig isang tuka, or for example maglisod na gani og ko ano get by every day. So social class refers to a group of people with similar levels of wealth, influence, and status. Sociologists typically use three methods to determine social class. So the lower class, so you have poverty, homelessness, and unemployment. So lahi ang social class sa socioeconomic groups ha, upper, kung socioeconomic groups kay upper, medium, lower level, and poor. Ang social class, we have the lower class, working class, middle class, and upper class. So for the lower class, you have those who are living in poverty, no, without home, without jobs. They suffer from a lack of medical care, adequate housing, food, and decent clothing and safety. So, of course, no, they are prone to sickness. Sometimes they are malnourished, no. Ang uban gani kalabanan kay lang skin and bones na lang sila. No, walay house and proper food. No, they just eat from scraps. And wala sila decent clothing. No, and even it comes to safety. No, kay wala man sila balay, wala sila belonging, wala sila kwarta. So, these people belong to the lower class. And majority, most especially sa mga third world countries, kay belong sa lower class. No? Kay dili pod healthy ang economic growth sa lower class if daghan pod og nabilong sa lower class due to lack of jobs, lack of education, no, lack of healthcare, no, kanang wala sila gitagaan og pansin pod sa gobyerno, no, tagaan sila og opportunities, and it's really difficult on our side to tell nga ilaham po nang salagod kay because they were born poor and they will die poor. No, we cannot say that because sayo na kaisulti sa to because you are privileged. No, when you are privileged, it's difficult for you to understand. No? So, some are unfortunate because they were not given a lot of privileges such as a home, a job, no, and even proper medical care. So if tagaan sila opportunities to have a job regardless of unsa pa na siya kalisod, or tagaan sila access to education so that matagaan sila og kanang daghang opportunities inig kahuman nila og eskwela, bahalag simple lang ilang trabaho, then that would lift them up from poverty. Kay kung makaskila ang sa kabata, no, tagaan sila opportunities, no, dili lang ang katurang na ay kaya nga mo paskwela, but everyone, even ang kanang naa sa poorest of the poor, then dili na sila mahimog illiterate, no, makabalo na sila unsaon pagsulat, pagbasa, and most importantly, that will also help them strive or encourage them to have goals, to have dreams, no. And when puhol kung makuhumadod sila pagskwela, masking no matter nga wala sila kwarta, no, that could provide them also an opportunity to work. Pero no, again, it's also really difficult to do that knowing nga naganiuban karon no fresh grad maglisod pangita og trabaho. So ang cycle pod class, no, very endless kaayo siya. Mo dili kaayo ta mo grow kaayo, no, dili healthy ato ang economy. It is because no, there are fewer jobs, there are a lot of graduates na paiuban nga wala pa proper education, so magsalig lang yun sila, or sometimes naaro jud sila sa dalan, no, nya luoy pug kaayo sila, no. So it's really difficult. It's easy for us to say because no, we are given a lot of privileges. That is why you should be thankful, no, that you are given a comfortable life where you have a home, you have a family, and you can still go to school, no. So mo na siya. As much as we want to solve poverty right away, it's really a difficult thing to do. No, daghan na kaayo since pila pa na ka years before wala siya na-solve nga problema. Okay, next is the working class. So those minimally educated people who engage in manual labor with little to no prestige. So these are unskilled workers such as dishwashers, cashiers, maids, and waitresses. So skilled workers in this class are carpenters, plumbers, and electrician. So, these are people who are more into the manual labor, no, wala sa opisina. Nana sila kuan class, naana sila um, naana sila murag white collar and blue collar kuan jobs. So ang naa sa white collar jobs, those who are working in the offices. Ang mga blue collar jobs, those are the working class. So for example, no, para sa anang always keep in mind no, sa man yung mga blue collar jobs no, parehas ani nila. No, those who are in carpentry, those who are plumbers, electricians, no, those who are employed to do manual labor. No, so dili hayahay ilang trabaho klaso kay magpainit sila, magano pa sila no, magpanday, and then napoy times nga of course no, their lives will be put into to danger because of their job. So kanang mga blue collar jobs, those are under the working class. And the working class has two types, no, unskilled workers. But I beg to differ when it comes to waitresses. There are waitresses in the hotels that are actually HRM graduates and they are taught on how to properly take orders at the same time set up the table no kung nakakuan mo atong sa micro perspective last semester no nga na proper way to set up a table no and even kanang mga social kaayo nga mga hotels they have their own butlers no nga kung imo na umra pa siya parehas og trabaho sa waiter no pero mas kuan lang siya mas glorified lang siya kay tungod nindot siya og uniform and nindot pa siya og training no so laman sa unskilled workers class to kana rang moduog household chores no nga walay dili magkinahanglanon og kuan um, proper na training if you compare it to skilled workers like carpenters so need ka og proper training no and even plumbers and electrician because very technical man kay na siya but I beg to differ sa waitresses because not all waitresses are unskilled to ka sa hotel class no kalabanan kay ako naka OJT naman siya kog hotel no when we were assigned in the Cafe Glow which is the breakfast cafe sa Crown Regency kay kuan class no agi siya mi og training no kay naa may sakto nga measurement from the plate to the table, sakto nga table napkin folding, no, ang spoon and fork, most especially if it's fine dining, unsa ang proper nga pagplaster, no, what kind of cutleries or kanang glassware ang needed for this specific kind of drink, they have to know that, no. So, dili na siya ingon nga kuan, nga unskilled pod sila. Siguro kana rang mga kuan guro no na sa mga small diners no or magagmay nga kan-anan pero sa hotel we do not call waiter our waitresses as unskilled workers because they really need training. There is even an NC2 training no F&B service for that no kay dili byud lalim labi na mag-set up ka og kanang fine dining unya inyong mga guests kay mga VIP no kinahanglan jud na siya eskwelahan. Middle class. So under the middle class, there is the lower middle class and the upper middle class. So in the lower middle class, these are less educated people with lower incomes, such as managers, small business owners, and teachers. Ouch. I do not kaan siya class no nga we are less educated people. I have already um been with people who have PhD degrees and they are really educated, no? So, na ko yung mga teachers sa graduate school sa UNOR nga, dean na sila, no? Or, gatag-edyo sila og school, no? Naka-classmate kay ko class ka nang sa Southland, if you could, if you could look it up, no? Southland in Kabangkalan, it is a school owned by one of my classmates. I forgot her name. Ma'am Michelle. But her name is Michelle. Di, wala kayo may nag-abot per mino kay kuan man ko. Nag-classmate rami ko sa ka-subject. Holem, I think her last name is Holem, Michelle Holem. And they own a restaurant as well. Michelle Holem de. So they're actually in the academe, no? So I not agree that teachers are in the lower middle class. No, there are teachers in the academe who has already established themselves, no, who has owned schools, who can keep in par. In fact, no, I have mentors who have multiple PhD degrees na po o masters nga. Di mo sila less educated, no? kuan man sila, highly educated people because they tend to belittle the profession sa teachers, no, kay tungod dali ra daw kuno kay magmaestra, no. I beg to differ because it's really difficult, most especially if you are a kind of teacher that who would like to improve yourself, no, who would like to study, to attend more trainings to improve um your to improve yourself in your field, 'di ba? So, mukuan ka na. I beg to differ. Okay. So, upper middle class. These are highly educated business and professional people with high income, such as doctors, lawyers, stockbrokers, and CEOs. Okay, next is actually even doctors class, no? I have classmates who are doctors already, dentist na sila. Eskwela Japon sila graduate school, no, to have a degree unya mas taas pa ang mga teachers mo sa graduate school og koan status compare nila nga doctor sila og dentist. Dili man ingon nga kabritol pa kog kuan because these are good people man. Okay, tungod, of course, sila man ang student na, eskwela na sa graduate school to earn a master's degree in hospital management. Hospital, hadi, hospitality. Ang hospitality is HRM na. Hospital management because if they were to manage a hospital or a clinic, they have to study business. So, master's in business and then major in hospital management. Ang hospitality management, mo na siya ang sa hotel. Ayaw dyan na ninyo ikuan. Hospital and hospitality is different. Ha? So, kuan man no mas taas og kuan ang teachers la of course teachers man sila, sila ang students, no, so ilang role na dito sa school dili na sila ang taas, no, na sila sa second nga kuan kay tungod sila naman magto naman ang mga doctors dira to learn from teachers, no, who are teaching graduate school subjects. Okay, so next upper class. Okay, so upper class napud tay duha, no, lower upper class and upper class, no. So the lower upper class are those with new money or money made from investments, ventures, and so forth. So if you got rich or became a millionaire because of investments, business ventures, no, so you are called new money. But ang upper class are katong old money. If you kita mo sa Crazy Rich Asians, kuan ang example ato tong family ato nga lalaki, no, is an example of old money. So meaning ang ilang family has been rich for generations. So those aristocratic or high society families with old money have been rich for generations, more prestigious than the lower upper class. And that is true, no, kay plan na sila ka years na dato, no, dili lang dingon ka para nato karon nga madato na kagkalit, no, because of your business investments, then you are called new money. But if your family has been rich for many generations, no, so good pa rin sa sinaunang panahon sa time pa sa imong mga ninuno, no, dato na jud sila hangtod karon nadala ra Japon na siya for many generations, then that is upper class or old money rich. So, para sa anang koano, the royal family sa Great Britain is an example of old money. Although, ang ilang riches are from taxes, no, but their family, if you could imagine, no, ang monarchy sa England came from one family ra jud. No, for many generations, they have been in the seat of power. No, so mo na ang old money. Okay, so let's recall, no? You have the rich, the middle class, and the poor. So naay lain-lain nga klase nga nasa middle class, natay lower middle class o upper middle class. Sa rich is naatay upper lower upper class and upper class. Oh, an example of that is nagmix ang duha ka classes, no, sa Titanic wherein ang lower class na ibog sa upper class, no, dato man kayo to si Rose, and then si Jack is um someone who tries his best, no, to get by every day. So this is an example of the social pyramid of ancient Egypt. So you have the pharaoh, which is on the top of the social pyramid. So you have the vizier, senior officials, high priests, and nobles at the second. So nasa second duha. Scribes on the third level, skilled artisans and craftspeople. And then naa sa second to the last is peasant farmers and workers. And the last level are servants and slaves. So napod sila kuan kaso napod sila social classes sa una. Kuan gani class no, there is also a story nga, di ba ang mga pharaohs kay these are considered meron na sila kanang bag-o nga kuan. Di ba naman sila yung god si si Osiris, I think no? Osiris ba to? Basta mura nagparehas na kung ikaw ang masulod nga pharaoh daw kuno sa Egypt, mura po kag kanang embodiment daw kuno sila hang god. Or Horus ba to? Horus is the son of Osiris. I'm not really that I'm not really that of an expert when it comes to Egyptian mythology. Yung sa Greek ra ko um okay. No, but I think basta it goes like this na if you become the pharaoh no, of Egypt, you are like the embodiment of the god Osiris or the god Horus. Unya, our god Horus girto and you're given the eye of Horus ganito, no all-seeing eye. So, kung ikaw ang embodiment no ni Horus or ni Osiris which is ay lahang god, so meaning no kanang more na considered as a god among men daw kuno no para sa mga Egyptians before. So, ang tungod anak class nga pharaohs or those who are in the royal family considered themselves as those with noble blood, no, or royal blood, then dili sila ginahan nga ang ilahang maasawa kay kuan ra naa sa lower class or ordinary nga tawo. Even anak pa na siya sa mga senior officials, dili na Japon na sila makikuan. Sometimes it tend to have incest, no? So ang ilang igsuon ilahara pong una yun no kay because they believe nga para i-maintain na Japon ang pure royal blood dapat yung mixer jud ang duha ka pure royal blood. That is why matingala mo in your history nga kalabanan sa mga anak sa pharaoh class dili na sila mamatay no kay tungod if there's incest mong good class no di mo guna dapat ang duha ka tawo mo nga mo create og offspring from the same gene pool dili na siya pwede no incompatible na sila kay kung mukuha kag um let's say chromosome or genes from the father and mother who are siblings and then mo mix na sila class no naay tendency ang bata either na siya mga defects no para sa ato ni Pharaoh Tutankhamun or King Tut no tota lang kay koan kanang dili ko kalitok siyang full name so dili kay siya namatay no maybe siguro mga katong mga 17 pa siya or 18 or basta wala pa siya kaabot og mga 30 namatay na dayon siya it is because he cannot walk sige na siya glingkod no kay those are defects nga yang nakuha no because of incest because his parents are siblings no nya dili siya gamay iyahang tiil no gipanganak siya nga gamay ang tiil so di mo na siya pwede class mag-share og same gene pool ang ang father o mother no kay siblings man sila no same sila gene pool so mo na pag kanang offspring either naay defects no sa pangutok no naapoy defects pud siyang body nya susceptible to diseases and dali siya mamatay. That is why no it is forbidden to do that. Not only nga luod siya but at the same time daghan kay siya og defects. No mo na sa unang panahon mo isla nga ma-curse yun ninyong anak kay kwan. Superstition raman na no but the truth is in science it is incompatible to have an offspring from the same genes no same gene pool. Okay na to sidetrack ra ta no. Okay. Let's have another example at socioeconomic diversity at school. So you have those from the upper income families where pwede nila kuha nilang anak sa mga private schools because para nila ang kung imong ipaskula imong anak sa private school na ay security no mas nindot ang values sa education kay tungod dili man daghan ng estudyante at the same time very customized kayo no and the values established at the school is much more superior daw ko no than public schools mo na daw ko no ang thinking sa upper income families no they have the means to send their child to a private school because they can really afford the tuition fee and they feel nga mas napay security no or mas superior ang security and values than to that of public schools while ang medium or lower income send their kids to public schools because it's free no walay tuition fee. But again, I would like to tell you nga it doesn't really matter if your child goes to a public school or private school as long as the quality of education is still there. Noon sa man na may uban nga private schools class no to be honest dili manindot ang quality of education ilang gihatag no. So, di man dyan na total assurance nga basta private school nindot na dayon kaayo no. Ay na po'y public school class nga public school siya pero nindot pod siya og training no nindot pod siya og kanang quality of education. No, so dili ta mo stereotype nga just because it's a public school, it's for free. A lot of students go there, meaning ana nga maot pod ang quality sa education dili pod, no? Yeah, and just because it's a private school, nindot ta yung quality sa education. So bottom line is regardless if it's a public or private school, no, ang mo matter at the end of the day is the quality of education, no, and values it established. So ang iyahang kung ano products niya sa iyang mga estudyante nindot ba ang iyang products no ilahang may products kamo man among products di ba nga when you graduate no do we produce globally competitive graduates so may ana no nga fully equipped to um limited to compete no but fully equipped with all the skills and knowledge that they have learned in the 4 years nga lang pagstay sa school no ready na ba sila no to take on the real life no so may ana so mo siya na class no di man na mo matter pero siguro no because of stereotyping at the same time mo man siya na ang una dud sa kalabanan pud sa to ano nga basta naa kay kaya private school jud nimo paskilahon imong anak no nya kung kita sa medium or lower income no nga sakto-sakto ra ato ang kwarta so ato siyang ipaskila tong anak nga sa public kay tungod na wala may tuition fee so mo na siya. Kay recent study found that an institution with a socioeconomically diverse student body has more frequent interactions across class, which in turn are associated with higher levels of cross-racial interactions and engagement in diversity-related activities overall. And that is true. If you have a school that is socioeconomically diverse in the sense nga na yung mga anak sa dato na apoy kakonsa di mo ring pobre no pero kanang oh, sakto-sakto ra pud ang kwarta no sagol sila tanan no even kanang mga bata nga o mga walay balon no kay walay kwarta siya magpapa pero classmate niya mga dato og ko ano if i-mix ko no na nimo ang mga estudyante no and if you have a school that is socioeconomically diverse no they have at least high levels of interactions and engagement in diversity related activities no mas open sila to activities that are really diverse and open to different kinds of or diverse nga culture no kaysa kanang para sa tanan nga dato no of course tendency ana when you expose them to a diverse activity where they have to interact with other people no some of them may find it very uncomfortable no mag-inarte na dayon kay wala sila naanad no kasi eskwelahan ano naman sila nga privilege kay sila ilang mga classmate mga dato no mga kuan so kuan na dayon ma-expose kay sila og usa ka activity or situation nga they have to mingle with different people, with different cultures, with different socioeconomic status, mag-inarte na dayon, no? So, sakto man na, no? If you have an institution nga ma-mix tanan, no, na ay dato, na ay pobre, na ay nasa middle class, ma-mix sila tanan sa usa ka classroom, and then if you expose them to activities that are really diverse, oh, they are open to that. Kaya ana naman sa silang school nga, lain-lain akong mga classmate na. Ako'y classmate kani ma'am nga, walay balon luoy kaayo, no? So, naka-realize jud ko ma'am nga, lisod po de kaayo, no? Sa'yo na kaysa ko kay privilege man ko. So, man na. No, at least mas open sila, no? Mas, kuan sila, mas positive sila when it comes to diverse related activities. But those who are in just one socioeconomic lang nga background, nga, puro sa dato tanan, exposed nimo sa mga anak, no? Naiuban ana nila class, not all, no, kana may uban nga mga dato nga di man arte, pero naiuban siya ana nila magreklamo, mag-inerte, no, kay wala sila naanad. Okay, okay, next is culture of various age groups. 9:30 na. We'll just continue na lang this one next meeting class, no, kay taas-taas pa ni siya, naapa ning traditionalists, baby boomers, generation X, generation Y. Kita, we belong to the generation Z. So, kanang naa sa mga 1995 to 2003, I think, 2013. Those who are born from 1995 to 2013 are called Generation Z. We are not millennials, ha. Even I do not belong to the group millennials. Ang millennials, kana silang service po. Muna sila ang millennials. Kitang mga Generation C, mas lahi tao characteristic if you compare to those who, kaya alam mo kung misconception is, basta mga ano ganing mga teenager, millennials ilang tawag. Dili man na sila millennials, dili ta millennials. We are Generation C and we differ. Although, Generation Z and millennials have almost the similar kanang mga, mga attributes or let's say, ilahang attitudes no duol raman. But si Generation Z is more on mas bata pa rin siya, no? Like mga nasa early 20s such as ako, no, mga 21, 22, no, and even na mas 18, 19. No, those are people who belong to the Generation Z. So mas lahi pa jud sila if you compare it to mas kuan pa jud, no, mas creative and mas open-minded versus Generation C if you compare it to millennials. Okay? Dili na ni siya kuan ha, kay 2015 pa ni nga data, no? So, karon tigulang na kaayo ni sila. Dili na ni 21. Kay 24 naman ko na sila sa kuan mga 27, 28, no? 28 dayon to 37, no? So belong siya ana si kuan mga 28 to 37, o mo na siya ang mga millennials. So kani dili siya under 20, mo ni siya katong mga bag-ora nag 20, no, to 25, no, or for example kana mga 18, no, mga under 20 to 25, mo na sila ang Generation Z. Kaya ang bracket anak karon no, ang update kay 2015 magud ni, ang updated anak karon is sa 2020 supposedly ana sa Generation Z kuan na 23, 22, no, mga yung ana. Ang oldest nila nga kuan siguro is 25. Oh. Later na lang na, no, kay taas pa ni siya actually. Okay, so before we will end, I would like to share to you a video on different cultures around the world. This belongs to regional culture. No, so katong atong gisira to socio-economic man to, no. So dili ma-insert ang duha ka video sa karon nga klase, usa lang sa katulang sa regional culture. So we'll be watching a video on different cultures around the world. I will just pause the recording. So I will pause the recording para di mo karat ang video.